Welcome you to our first online lesson, of which we don't know when we will have more. So I'm going to present to you my screen, and we're going to go over some things. Right, hopefully you can see the screen now. And we have got, we've got this here. When you go to this one here, the year planner, it tells us where we should be. So we are now working in week 2 on here. It's actually week 3, but we should be doing the crescent eye, the vase with water, and the soup mug. But today what I'd like to do is go over this section on hyperbolas, because I see some people have struggled with that, and I want to show you some good quick tips to help you do the generalization, which you will need for the excellence part in your assessment. So I've prepared some work, and let's see if I can find it, and hopefully it will go well. Got lots of tabs open here. Where's my Desmos? Yeah, this one here. Okay, so what I've got here, I'll just click that off, it's playing around. I've got this, these two hyperbolas. So this is going to be similar to some of the things that you're asked to do. So what I want to do is to say, well, let's find the equations of these red and blue hyperbolas that will meet at that point. And I'm going to show you some good quick tips on how to do this. And I go to my OneNote and bring this up. Right, here is the hyperbola question. So here is our formula. Now my fancy pen is not working, so I'm going to struggle a little bit. So I'm going to cheat, but this is a way you could do it. This is the formula for the general hyperbola. So if I copy that and then paste it, we've got it down here. Because I want it to go through these points 7 and 5, or 7.016, I couldn't make an example that was really good. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to approximate it with 7 and with 5. So we're going to do an approximation first, and then I'm going to show you how to change that approximation and to find the point and do the hyperbola. So we're going to start with the red one first. And by the way, if I'm going too slow, or if something's wrong or going too fast, please interrupt, ask. I don't know whether I'll get the notes showing on my board, but can everyone see this? Can someone just voice if you can see what I'm doing? Anyone?
Yes, I can see what you're doing.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I just want to know. It's really hard. I sort of feel as I'm talking to myself some of the time. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase out the A here, and I'm going to put the value for A, which is this value 2. Right, so you should know that if you've done that. So we're going to put 2 squared in here. So I'm replacing the value. And so we've got this formula. Now I'm going to use the point to 7, 5. So I'm going to put the x and the y values in. So I'm going to erase the x, and I'm going to put the value of 7 in here. And then I'm going to erase out the y, and I'm going to put the value of 5 in here. That value there. Okay, so hopefully you're with me from where we're doing. Now I'm going to rearrange this equation. And please don't simplify it at this stage, because it's going to make the generalization really easy if we don't simplify it. So what am I going to do? I'll just copy this first, and I'm going to paste that underneath, and then I'm going to start rearranging this equation. Right? So by rearranging, when I take this negative part here and change it to the other side, it's going to become positive. So I'm just going to shift that over there. And when I take this 1 and change it to the other side, it becomes negative, because I want to find out what b squared is. Right, so we've got that first step. And then if I put brackets around these, so here I've got brackets around here and brackets around here. If I now take the b squared and I multiply it to the other side, so I get the b squared, I put it over there. Whoops, let's take the squared across too. And there I've got b squared. I've multiplied it to the other side. Now this is b squared times that, so I can divide 5 by all of this. So then I've got a value for b squared. So then I divide it by all of that. So there is my b squared. That's what b squared equals. So let's get my fraction line. So b squared is all this. B squared is 5 squared divided by 7 squared over 2 squared minus 1 squared. Leave it like that because it's really easy to put in. So I'm going to go back to Desmos and just to help speed things up a bit, hopefully I've already got that there. There it is, x squared over 2 squared minus y squared over 5 squared divided by 7 squared minus 2 squared. So when I put that in, there we've got our red hyperbola. Isn't that pretty cool? Now this is going to be really handy. So what I do is I actually copy and paste that down below, and then I'm going to do the next one. Oh, if I actually want it accurate, see how it's not 5 squared, but it's 5.044? So all I do is change that to 5.044, 7.016. When I put that one in there, it's a little bit more accurate. Now, here's why you'll see it's more accurate. If I zoom in here, I'm going to keep zooming in. Really. Now, you see how our first one where we approximated it, when I zoom in really closely, it's a little bit out, isn't it? But when I use the actual values, I actually get there, right on the point. Now, when you do your assessment, we'll be actually looking, are you approximating or are you actually working it out right on the point? Because you can approximate it on the graph, and the graph looks all right at this visual bit, but it doesn't actually equal it. So that is our correct one by putting those in. So I'm using an approximate point first, but that's the actual point. And then I've changed the domain to, for this one here, I've changed the domain to 7.016, so it goes right there. And I guess I should change this to negative 7.016. So it makes it really easy if you don't simplify. So I'm going to go back to OneNote now, and we're going to do the other one. So this is our formula for the first bit. Let's just shift it. Whoops. See. Let's just shift things over a bit. This is what b squared equals. I should have written the whole formula out actually. So our whole formula that I graphed was this. The whole formula, instead of having a squared, I had 2 squared there. Let's get an eraser. Let's chuck out the a squared. What's happened here? Let's remove the a squared. Let's remove the b squared. And let's put in what our values were. A squared is 2 squared. That should be easy enough. We've got 2 squared there. And this is really hard on my computer. Minus b squared. So b squared I put in the whole thing. So I'm just going to put it like this. And 5 squared. You can simplify this down to a number later, because it does come to a single number, but you will see how to do generalizations if we leave it unsimplified. The generalizations will then become really simple. Okay, so that's my formula, and that's what I had on the graph on Desmos here. That's the same formula there. See, y squared over b squared, which is 5 squared over 7 squared divided by 2 squared minus 1. So just by rearranging. We have to be pretty good at rearranging to get it accurate. Use the actual values that you've given for the point of intersection. Now we've done the red one, and now we're going to do this dotted blue bit. So we have to work out for the dotted blue bit, what is this value here? So we count along 1, 2, 3, 4, and you work out is that A or B. So let's go back to our OneNote, and we can see that this here is actually our A squared. So instead of having 2 there, actually I'm going to just use the same one. I'm going to cheat here, and instead of having 2, I'm just going to put 4 squared there. And instead of using 7, oh no, we do need to use 7 and 5 again. So all I've done is change that. So I've changed the 2 to 4. Now let's do it again. We switch the 1 to the left-hand side and the negative 5b squared b to the right-hand side. And then perhaps I will do this whole process again. Just for practice, because there may be some students, I know most of you have got this, but there may be some students that don't quite understand. So we'll move over here and we'll put it here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this. I'm going to take this negative part, and when I change side, it becomes positive. I'm going to take this positive part, put it to the negative. Then I'm going to multiply it by b squared to get the b squared to the other side. So I'm going to multiply all of this, make sure you use brackets, by the b squared. So I grab my b squared, put it to the other side. Of course, you would show this in several lines of working, and then we're going to rearrange this, and we're going to have what b squared equals. I'll actually put this in here. So we're going to have b squared equals, so I copy this, equals goes down here below. We know it's 5 squared divided by something. That, and put it below. And what is it divided by? It's divided by all of this. Whoops. So I copy that, put it below, and I will just increase my fraction sign like that. There we go. So that's what b squared is. So the formula that we're going to use then is going to look this one here, x squared. Oops, I should have left that up there, shouldn't I? Hold on. Let's just go back again. Okay, that's what I wanted. Put that line back in. So there we can see our, whoops, that's supposed to be a straight line. That's better. So there we can see our lines of working. Formula, A is 4. We get that 4 just going over it because we go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're working out this dotted part. The A value is really easy to work out. And then we need to work out what B is. So we use the 0.75. That's this point here. X is 7, Y is 5. So replace that with 7, replace that with 5. Then we do change sign. We get what b squared is. So let's write our formula out. Actually, I won't write it out. It's x squared over 4 squared minus y squared over all of this squared. So let's go to our Desmos and check to see if we've got it correct. There it is. X squared over 4 squared minus y squared. I've actually got the actual value here because I've replaced the 5 squared with 5.044. And I replaced the 7 squared with 7.016, and now we've got it accurate. Okay, so that's the first bit. Any questions? Because now I'm going to go into the generalization, and the generalization is where your excellence part comes in. So this is really important. But you won't get the generalization unless you understand how I've done that. Are there any questions, class? No? Are you still with me? Can someone say yes if we're still with it? Where am I? How can I find out? I'm still here. Good. Cool. Okay. Now I've gone to the wrong screen. So let's go back and have a look at the question. So we've done the first bit, finding the equation of hyperbolas, including the appropriate domain and range. Oh yes, now the domain and range, I've just restricted it from 7.016 to negative 7.016. So let's go back and make sure you do that on your Desmos, which is where? Where did I have my Desmos? This one here. No, it was this one here. Yeah, see how I've restricted the domain here? And this one, 7.016, and again, for the one that I've just done, I've done it from negative 7 to 7.016, so I should put that as negative 7. See, I've only got this left one as negative 7. What happens when I zoom in on here? It won't actually meet the point. It's going to be a little bit short because I haven't got, see how my line actually stops short of the point, because this should be negative 7.016. So when I put the 0.016 there, and actually if I zoom in further, those 2 points don't meet because I've only done it to the nearest thousandth. If you go into the nearest millionth and so on, keep scrolling in. We need to work to more decimal places. They don't actually meet there, but it's okay. As long as we get it down to agreeing to 3 decimal places, we should be fine. It's still an approximation, hey, but if you're down to the nearest thousandth, isn't that close enough? So we've got that graph. Now let's do the generalization bit. Now this generalization bit, because we haven't simplified it, is really, really simple. Because what we do is we're going to put everything in terms of k. Right? So the general equation is, now a here, we replaced a with 2 in our first one, didn't we? Let's do the red one first. For the first one, we had a as 2. Let's go over here. No, where did I put it? Doesn't matter. We had a as 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that in terms of a. How is, in terms of k, how is how is the value a expressed in terms of k? At the moment, k is the 0.10. You see that? That's the point k, and our graph starts at 2. So that would have to be 2k. So I'm just going to replace this 4 with 2k. Now we make sure that we put this in brackets because it's 2k squared. That makes sense? Then we still do exactly the same thing here. We are still changing sign just as we did before. And actually I'm going to do it because it's good practice for you. I'm going to rub all this out. And we're going to practice changing sign. I'll just get rid of these. Oops. Okay. So we're going to go through the same process, but here we're using k. And so we're going to take this bit here. We put it to the other side and make it positive. We take this bit here, we put it to the other side and make it negative. We're going to multiply everything by b squared, so I put brackets around that. I take this, the b squared, and I put it to the other side. Now, I can then write out what it is. So b squared equals, so it's just easier for me to do this. Whoops. B squared equals, and what does it equal? It equals our right-hand side, and it's divided by all of this. So if I lasso this, I'll just leave the brackets out at this stage. Because this mantissa, this line along here, actually acts as brackets. So the whole bottom line is actually bracketed. And we've got to close that there. So we've got b squared equals that. So our formula, our generalized formula then, is x squared over a squared, which will be x squared over 2k squared. I'll just copy this out again. We'll write it here, and then I'll show you how it works. Some of you have probably already worked this out and know how to do it anyway. Sorry to bore you. So we've got x squared over a squared. What was our a? Our a is now 2k. So I've got to erase that. And we've got to put 2k in there, in brackets, 2k. And our b squared is all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make it easy on myself. We'll shift that there. We know that y squared's at the top. Y squared's at the top. And then b squared we can eliminate, because this is what b squared is. It's all of this. And again, we are just leaving it in unsimplified form, so that that there is our generalized one. Right, so that's generalized. I'll put the brackets around there just to make sure that everything here is in brackets that you're minusing. So this is our generalized form, and I've actually typed it in. So just remember that, 5 squared over 7 squared minus 2k squared, so that when I do this in the generalized form, I'll get rid of these two graphs, I put it in here, and I've, instead of putting 5, I've actually gone to the actual value, 5.044. I'm going to set k as 1, because that's what k is. K is 1. And you see it fits in there, but we, instead of having numbers, I've now got 4k. So that when I play the slider, you see that it now shifts smaller and bigger. So I've set the slider to go from 0 to 5, and you can see the graph is changing as it goes bigger and smaller. So that's what we're asked to do, is to find that. Let's leave k at 1. Stop. So that's handy. Now, remember we had 4k here. What will we have for the red one? We will have 2k. Oh, sorry, I've done the other way. Sorry, I've done the wrong one. This was the 2k one. Now I've spoiled your big surprise. But you'll see how easy it is to change. So let's do the slider again, because it was the red one that we started off doing. A little bit mixed up. Let's see how it fits in. This is pretty cool with the sliders there. We're not guessing, we've actually got the actual values. Now to find the other one, this here is 2k, this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And because I haven't simplified it, all I do is I take every 2k and I make it 4k, which I've done up here. The formulas are exactly the same. I just put 4k here. So when I put it in, I now have both graphs. If I'd simplified all this to a number in terms of k, I wouldn't be able to find the second one nearly so easily. I'd have to do all my work again. And there we have the graph changing in proportion to the value of k. Now, some of you have already done it, and some of you have struggled to know what to do. So I hope that that is a really clear explanation of what I've been done, of what's been going on. Well, we've got 16 people here. Well, good. I'll take the roll in a minute. Those of you that came late, I am actually recording this. Welcome to the class. Some people are a bit late. We didn't start till 9. The lesson starts at 10:02. So Donyong is here, just taking the roll. We've got Dashiell, Donyong, welcome. Esther, we already had. Ethan, good. Fatima, welcome. Isabel, Lim, Julius, Julius, are you on my class list? Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, you are. Found you. Kian. Good. We've got Kyle, welcome. We've got Ruby, I've got Stephen and Lynn. I've got, and Tiana, I've got Wesley. Wesley Q. And one. Okay. I just want to go over one other thing. Make sure, I need to present again. Make sure that you know what we are doing, right, where we're up to. We are looking at this here. We should be working on this week, being week 3. These are 1 week out. And next week you should be finishing off. Of course, you can go ahead and there are practice assessments. You're going to have the assessment. You will be using Desmos for your assessment, but when you do the generalizations, you're going to have to show your working, like I did on OneNote. Show your working. What I've got here would probably be the minimum steps, except I should have shown what b squared was there. This would be the minimum amount of working that you would need to be able to get excellence and accomplish what you're doing. We can follow you. So I'll just put this back up here. I should have left that there, copied it. All right, so you've got what b squared is. You found what b squared. There's your formula, and away you go. So that's how you do your working. That's how you find those things. And okay, now I have to exit out of this. I want to go back. Make sure that you keep up to date with your work. I log on to Desmos and I can see your work. Some of you are a little bit behind here. You haven't even done last week's work. You've got this week's work to do. You can go ahead, and if you can work through that ahead of time, you'll have more time for the practice assessments and the more difficult things. Okay, that's me done for today. I am going to be available here till the end of the lesson to answer your questions. I'll be popping back and forth. Haven't had my breakfast yet, so I'm going to have some breakfast.